My name is Brian Carmichael, and this is Fire Instructor 1, and I'm going to be going over the reason for salvage and how to properly fold a salvage cover. Our exits are here and towards the front, and we also have the bathrooms in the back. And today we're going to be, and also me personally, I've been a firefighter for 3.5 years for the fire department, and we're going to be going over salvage. All right. So, starting with our introduction, a firefighter's priorities are saving lives, controlling the fire, and protecting property. Salvage protects property and belongings from damage. Salvage also includes any efforts to limit smoke, water, and physical damage to the contents of the fire structure. Overhaul also includes any efforts to identify hidden, smoldering embers and pockets of fire in order to prevent further progression of the fire or rekindles. So it correlates with each other, salvage and overhaul. But for the purpose of this lecture, we're going to focus our efforts on salvage. So salvage is conducted to save property and reduce damage. It is also aimed at limiting secondary losses from smoke and water damage. Alright, and salvage operations includes a multitude of actions, such as expelling smoke, removing heat, controlling water runoff, removing water from the building, securing a building after a fire, covering broken windows and doors, and patching ventilation openings. All right. Protecting property is a responsibility of firefighters. Protection of property is the third priority after saving lives and controlling the fire. Property can be irreplaceable and or of high sentimental value. Quick question for the class: what is something you own that is sentimental for you? You don't have to be specific, just something of sentimental value for you all. Mayo.
My generator.
Your generator. It could be Ben.
Photographs.
A photograph, yes. Dustin.
Vehicles.
Vehicle, yes. Need a vehicle. Alright. And the contents may be more valuable than the structure. Example given: computers, important files. Like I know some of you guys in here are parents, so your kids' birth certificate, social security cards, your social security cards, or your birth certificate, or even certificates or things that shows your competency level. All right. So we should also worry about safety considerations during a salvage operation. So during salvage, safety is a primary concern. During firefighting and immediately afterwards, all personnel should be in full PPE, including SCBA. So that goes from the turnout boots, to turnout pants, to turnout jacket, to the turnout, to the firefighter gloves, the SCBA mask, helmet, even the Nomex hood. Determination of when SCBA can be removed is made by the safety officer after atmospheric testing. And while doing and another safety consideration during salvage operations is to beware of structural collapse due to weakened structural components, excess weight of water, and building contents. And while doing salvage, we can't just do salvage with our bare hands. We will need tools. So the purpose of salvage tools is to shield or cover building contents and remove smoke, water, and other damaging products. Salvage tools include salvage covers, box cutters, floor runners, wet, dry vacuums, squeegees, a submersible pump and hose, sprinkler wedges and stops, ventilation fans, and small hand tools. And another thing we do while in salvage is to limit smoke and heat damage. We keep heat and smoke out of areas that are not involved in the fire. Close doors after a room is searched to show that it has been properly searched, and rapid ventilation will often reduce smoke damage. We also use salvage covers to protect building contents. And we begin on the floor immediately below the fire. We move contents to the center of the room. We place pictures, small objects in drawers, and we cover it with a salvage cover. It can be left behind to protect contents from drainage or the elements, and to also remember to retrieve them when no longer needed. Now, when we're finished with the salvage cover, we will use special folding and rolling techniques that permit rapid deployment. Folding and rolling salvage covers and also spreading the salvage cover will be practiced today during our skills drill. And after using the salvage cover to protect building contents, we can also use floor runners, which protect carpets and hardwood floors from firefighters' boots. And while also doing salvage, we are also trying to prevent water damage, which is to limit water application. Starting with deactivated sprinklers. That's where the wedges come in, such as shutting down sprinklers as soon as the incident commander declares fire under control. We will insert a sprinkler wedge or a sprinkler stop to stop flow from sprinkler heads, and in situations which will necessitate closure of sprinkler control valve, such as from recessed sprinkler heads or too many heads activated for a number of wedges and stops. And sprinkler heads cannot be plugged using wedges or stops. And during this valve closure process, we will bring bolt cutters to remove control valve lock if key is unavailable, and we'll make sure to cut close to padlock so chain can be reused. We will close zone valve if possible, otherwise main sprinkler control valve, such as the outside stemming yoke and the post indicator valve or the PIV. And we will open drain valve if one is present, closing and reopening the main control valve will be practiced at a later date. Closing and opening of PIV will be practiced also at a later date. Spare sprinkler heads are usually stored near the main control valve, and only qualified professionals can place the system in service. And that's the end of the lecture for salvage. Are there any questions?
I got one. Do you perform salvage operations at every call that you go to, or how does that work?
We perform salvage operations typically after a fire. That's a primary, and also after a casualty event, such as an earthquake, something that will cause damage that we will need to further investigate or move materials out of the way. Is there?
How long does it take to perform the salvage operations at fires?
Depends. Primarily on the incident commander. If he feels, well, not just the incident commander, but also the fire marshal. The fire marshal was able to accurately conclude his investigation, and the incident commander, feels that the fire is completely under control, and all the dangerous materials, well, not just dangerous materials, but all the materials showed that there was no longer fire present in the structure, then he will call for companies to be released from scene. So salvage operations depends completely upon the IC and then the fire marshal.
Okay. I also see that on your PowerPoint here it says the patching ventilation openings and securing structures. What are some materials that you all use after the fire's out and you're doing the salvage operations? What are some materials that y'all use to do all those things there?
Yes. When patching ventilation openings or covering broken windows and doors, we would use a salvage cover, or we would completely tear out a window, or if door's not needed, we'll just tear the door out. And we would also, for ventilation openings, we would cover it, depending on what kind of ventilation we're doing. We could use a negative pressure fan to cover up a ventilation opening, or we could use, some fire departments carry it, some fire trucks carry it, piece of plywood, some depending on how, I forgot the name of it.
Visqueen.
So what?
Visqueen, the plastic.
Yeah.
Rolls of plastic and 2x4s.
There you go, visqueen, and that will also patch ventilation openings.
When you secure the building, does the police department, do they have to sit with the building, or how does that work?
The police department does not have to sit with the building. The fire department will have to sit with the building per NFPA standards and local ordinances and standards to make sure that they had plenty of time to do a proper investigation to prove that if it was arson, or if it wasn't arson, if it was electrical, if it was a mistake, if it was just an act of God. So it primarily falls onto the firefighter company that usually made first scene to secure the building. and make sure it stays secure, and also to make sure that no one else comes to the building to try to mess with evidence. Any other questions?
So since it's still a hazardous environment after the fire's out, are there other precautions that are taken to help mitigate any other problems like smoke that's still hanging in the air and different things for the guys that are working inside?
Yes. You have a ventilation fan which will push out the toxic air outside of the building. It'll help. And we also will use a gas detector to show the amount of contaminants in the air. And if it's above a certain number, it'll start beeping, and immediately the safety officer would tell everyone to put their SCBA back on and resume working to limit the exposure and to make sure that we are properly protected from carcinogens that would cause cancer.
Do you have other entities that get involved, not just the fire department, in incidents like this, like say utility companies or salvage type places, private business that help take care of stuff like that?
Yes, we will call the local provider of utility services, such like here for MLGNW. We'll tell them to come out and cut off the utilities to the building, to stay on scene to make sure nothing, free action doesn't happen. It comes right back on, and so we don't have to worry about getting shocked or being having the water come back on or the gas come back on, doing another explosion or doing an explosion. And if that is all the questions we have, I am Fire Instructor Brian Carmichael of the Fire Department, and I have just taught or just lectured on salvage, and I will now go over the skills we're about to show, what we're about to do today for the salvage cover fold with 2 firefighters. So, performing a 2 firefighter salvage cover fold, we will start with spreading the salvage cover flat on the ground, and one firefighter will stand at one end facing his partner on the other end. Together, they will fold the cover in half. 3, together, they will take the unfolded edge and fold the cover in half again. And then starting from the middle of the cover, they will use a broom to brush the air out of the cover. And then they will move to the newly created narrow end of the salvage cover, and they will fold the cover in half lengthwise, and then they will fold the salvage cover in half lengthwise again, and then we'll fold the cover in half, completing the 2 firefighter salvage cover fold. And that is the skill we are going to perform today for our class on salvage. Thank you. All right, once again, I'm Fire Instructor Brian Carmichael, and today we're going to be performing the skills portion of our lecture, which is a 2 firefighter salvage fold. So, step number 1, you spread the salvage cover flat on the ground while the partners face each other. 2, both firefighters place one hand on the outer edge of cover and the other hand a quarter of the way in from the edge. And then both firefighters would then fold the cover in half. firefighters will now fold the two halves together again. And if need be, they will start from the middle of the cover using a broom to brush the air out. Alright? Alright. Now they will move to the narrow edge of the salvage cover, and they will fold the salvage cover in half lengthwise. And now they will fold the cover in half lengthwise again. Lengthwise. Meet each other in the middle. Yeah, both meet in the middle. Remember that? Now they'll fold it lengthwise again. And now they'll fold the cover again for a final time. That is how you perform a 2-firefighter salvage fold for the skill drill. Thank you.